Under the Braehead Cross, Siobhan Donoghue tells us her story, close to her home in South Dublin.
My story took place in 2011 and I found out I was pregnant for the third time and I was delighted. I always wanted to have 3 children and we were going along fine, getting used to the idea of having our new baby until we went for our 20-week anomaly scan. And that's when everything changed because we were told that our baby had a condition called anencephaly. And this is a condition where the top half of the baby's head has never formed. We were devastated to hear this. Our whole future as we had seen it just vanished in that minute. And we were then told that if we wanted to end this pregnancy early, we wouldn't be able to do that in Ireland because of the 8th Amendment.
The consultant was not allowed to refer her to an English hospital for an abortion. Siobhan and her husband were given information about the Liverpool Women's Hospital. They made their own appointment as private patients.
So that meant we had to go home and book flights and book a hotel and see if we could get somebody to mind our 2 other children and arrange all of these logistics that you shouldn't really have to think about when you're dealing with the fact that your baby is going to die. We were broken-hearted and we felt like we were sneaking out of our country. That's the bit that's hard to reconcile.
Yeah.
Because you'll get over a grief and you'll move on from your grief and your grief will lessen as time goes on. But it's the sting that's left from that feeling of being forced to look elsewhere when you needed help. That's what really gets to me.
On the 29th of September 2011, the couple boarded an early morning Ryanair flight from Dublin to Liverpool.
Yeah, it's just, you're doing something very private. You're making a very private decision for yourself and your family. And then you have the juxtaposition of that with it was a beautiful sunny weekend that weekend. I remember going over to Liverpool. It was 25 degrees, bit of an Indian summer at the end of September. And there was this hen party and they were all happy and laughing and you were just, oh God.
On the plane?
On the plane.
Yeah.
This is the other side of this. You're leaving your own medical team behind you. You're going to meet a medical team that you don't know.
Yeah.
I'd never been to Liverpool. I didn't know anything about Liverpool and never had no experience of it. And you're being forced to do that, to leave people that you know, that you've been used to being under their care, to meet another team who are now going to take care of you because your country can't.
They got a taxi from the airport to the hospital. She was given drugs to induce the pregnancy and had to return in 48 hours.
So we were walking around like we were any other tourist couple, except we were carrying the secret of the reason we were there. We just had to put in that time, ringing home to see how everybody was doing, crying down the phone to my mum, just wishing that they were there, that you could have your family, that they weren't going to get to meet this child.
Siobhan returned to hospital and delivered the baby. They called him Thomas Joseph, or TJ. Afterwards, she was recuperating in a room dubbed the Shamrock Suite in the hospital. There was a knock on the door. It was an elderly Catholic priest offering to pray with her. Although this man represented part of the reason she was there, instead of judging her, he offered her comfort.
It was an acknowledgement that this should be our decision, I think, and that nobody else had the right to judge you on your decision that you make for your family. So I found that very powerful at the time. Yeah. It moved me to tears. It still does at times,
Is it?
Oh yeah. I found it very, very powerful. And he will always have a special place in my heart for doing that.
That priest?
Yeah.
Siobhan flew home, leaving TJ's remains in the care of the hospital. He was cremated a few days later.
As the plane took off and flew out over the Mersey, looking down and just whispering goodbye to him.
Yeah.
Just this sense of, it was one thing after another of all of these things you felt you shouldn't have to do.
Yeah.
Like leaving your baby behind you.
According to Siobhan, hers is the story of the unbearable logistics of smuggling out pain. A few weeks later, a brown UPS delivery truck pulled up outside her house.
2-3 weeks later, I was standing at my front door collecting a package from a courier, and it was my baby's ashes. Just this moment of just me and this courier, and this was it. This was how I got my baby back. A very surreal type of moment, and just kind of the whole, that's the word that I think covers the entire experience for me at the time. just was so hard to get your head around the fact that you had to do this.
Yeah.
That this was your only option if you didn't want to continue. And I feel that's not right, and that should change.
Well, I'm joined now by Vicky Wall, who took a very different decision when her unborn daughter was diagnosed with what she describes as a life-limiting condition. Vicky, tell me a little bit about what happened to you.
So 3.5 years ago, I got the terrible news that my little baby was sick and she wasn't going to live for very long. We got that news at 24 weeks, and it was heartbreaking.
And you decided to go ahead, though,
Yes.
and take the baby to term.
Yeah, the doctor did recommend, he did say we could pop to England if that would be an option for us, but it was never our right to take her life or to end her life, and it wouldn't have given us any healing. We loved our little girl and we wanted to give her every chance possible.
But you knew effectively that she wasn't going to survive. I mean, how difficult was it to decide? Did you never think, I will go to the UK?
Well, we do know cases of these babies. They're not always, as bleak as they seem. We do know that. We know of little Kathleen Rose. She has trisomy 13 and she's now 11. So we had heard these stories. So we did have hope. And yes, there was times that I felt I couldn't carry on. That's why I feel the 8th Amendment protected us, because it gave us that time to, on my very bad days where I felt I couldn't carry on and it was too difficult, it gave me time to be with her and remember what it was all about, and that was just about loving her and spending time with her.
I suppose that was a very, very personal decision. Many people will regard it as a very brave decision, but other women will say what this vote is about is allowing them to make their choice. What's wrong with that?
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but that's not what this vote is about at all whatsoever. The politicians are using sick babies and cases of forced pregnancies to make people feel that they need to vote yes for this very unrestricted, horrific proposal. The proposal is horrific, and they could do better. They could target these cases and do better for these cases.
The proposal is fundamentally about 12 weeks, isn't it, after the repeal of the 8th?
Yeah, 12 weeks unrestricted and then up to 24 weeks, which is 6 months on vague health grounds.
But the point is, I suppose, you have taken this decision yourself. Why should it be illegal for a woman who feels she can't do what you did?
So it's, like I said, there's no winners in this story where you have sick babies. There's no winners. There really, really isn't. But the government need to stop using sick babies to guilt people into going for a yes vote.
But it's a motive on both sides, isn't it?
It is, but I mean, you're talking about healthy mothers and healthy babies, and it's just horrific. It's more liberal than the UK even, and we know from their stats, 706 babies in 2016 diagnosed with Down syndrome aborted under grounds E. It's horrific.